Okay. Now let's look at one data type at a time. Okay. Let's look at data types, structures in Python. Okay. So there are a few data type. People call them structures, but actual programmers don't like them being called as data structures because they have a different definition of data structures. But some courses you will find this term being used, so don't worry about that. The first data type we will look at, because we have already looked at it, is a string. Then we will look at a list. Then we will look at a tuple. Then we will look at a dictionary. Okay. So these are a few data types we will look at, and then we will deal with and we will look at applications of all of them. And trust me, this is very important. Dictionary is very important. Okay. So let's start with a string. Okay. Let's start with a string. Strings. Okay. For example, I want to store lithology in a variable. Okay. Lithology of sandstone A or rock A. And I'm calling it sandstone, for example. Now, if you check the type of this variable, this is a string. That's how you create a string. Now, a string is a sequence of characters. A string is a sequence of characters enclosed within quotation marks. You could have used, as I said, you could have used this as well, and it would still be a string. But you already know why there are two types of allowances in Python, right? Order is very important. Order is always very important in a string, because if order was not important, you would not be reading it as a sandstone. S is the first character. E is the last character. Order is important. OK, what if you wanted to print out the first character? That's called indexing. Accessing elements in a string or whatever data type there is. OK, indexing in Python, it starts at 0. OK, indexing in Python starts at 0. Let me type the note here. Indexing in Python starts at 0. First element is at 0th index. So what I mean by that is lithology. If I provide 0 here, it will print the first element. OK, if I provide 1 here, it will print the second element. So index and position are two different things. OK, so indexing in Python starts at 0. What if you wanted to slice a particular string? Slicing. So lithology, you start at a particular statement, you start at a particular index, you stop at a particular index. OK, so for example, if I start at 0th index, I stop at the 5th index. You can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4th index. So basically the 5th index is not included. You start at the 0th index and end at 5 minus 1th index. OK, that's how this is called a slice, because you have sliced the actual string. This was the actual string and you have sliced it, printed a portion of that string. OK, so what if you wanted to reverse a string? In Python, the last element is at index position -1. OK, you can see E is the index position. What if you wanted to? There is also a availability of providing the step. It's as if you are standing on the first letter and you are walking on it. So basically, this original syntax of slicing is string. Just give me 1 second. String start, stop, step. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Right now, we have not provided the step size. Okay. Right now, we have only provided in the first example, we have only provided the starting and the stopping point. But we can also provide the step. What if you wanted to print the alternate elements? Lithology, rock A, start at the 0th index, stop at an infinite index, which means include everything, and take a step size of 1. You can see the basic default string is printed. But if you take the step size of 2, you can see alternate strings are printed, alternate characters are printed, which means one by one you are taking a step of 2. 0, 1 skipped, second element pick. 0, 1 picked, second element pick. Okay, so that's the interpretation of a step size. Okay, now you can do the same thing if you want to reverse a string, reversing a string. Reversing a string. You can reverse a string. Lithology rock A, start at the -1th index, which means the last index. It's almost as if it's a number line. Okay, stop at an infinitely, infinite from starting from the -1, which means you're as if starting from -infinity and up to positive infinity. It's going in the opposite direction, and take a step size of -1. You can see the sandstone string is reversed. Whoever has ever looked at programming languages, there's a very common problem called palindrome check. For example, a name is given, which is NAMAN, Naman. Okay, I want to check whether the name, if you look at it from the front or look at it from the back, is the same or not. So I can reverse the name by this name -1, stop, step size of -1. And now I told you, right, we have a different way to compare equality. So you can see reverse name double equals to compares two things. Name, it gives true, which means this is a palindrome. Palindrome is something which